Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Iol. I hope you'll find it a good time to study. Studying is a good thing, and I'm privileged to take you through this course called IT and Society. My name is Miss Beatrice. Welcome to IT and Society. So, what is IT and society? They are linked. So thinking of society and IT, so we are looking at how do IT applies, or how does the society takes IT, especially with this new innovation always coming up. Okay, so now we are going to look at some of the factors that affect the community or society at large when it comes to IT. Okay, we are going to look at the effects of computerization onto our society. For instance, what does it mean when people say that internet will reshape society? How much will people telecommunicate, or how will telecommuting practices change the way we work? Will the increased use of computers and the presence of internet radically reduce the enrollments in colleges and universities whose programs are place-based? There is a lot at stake when it comes to technology. Like, before I go ahead, let's look at this example, for example, whereby look at the technology, what it has done to us. Everybody now owns mobile, and then you find in houses or households, you find whereby communication is being cut off due to technology. Everyone will be just focusing on their phones, and there's no more verbal communication anymore. Is that a good thing? That's a question for you to think. So now we're also going to look at how will the web change the ways that people search for and use medical information. And these questions are a symbol of the ongoing and ever increasing discussion about the ways in which computer-based systems, more broadly, information and communication technologies, or what you call ICT, are playing powerful roles in reshaping organization and social relations. A lot has happened, whether it comes to social human beings, the way they behave, the way they look at things, and the way we evolve, like medical terms. Like, for example, how we look at things. How do we communicate now with this new technology? A lot has been touched by technology. And then the behavior change within our society, it has also changed a lot due to this. What has happened to privacy? People having no privacy anymore. People are exposing themselves on social media. That is all because of the technology that has come or overcome us. And then now one would ask, would there anything left for us to keep to ourselves if it wasn't for technology? Because nowadays we are showing so much, and then there's nothing left for us to keep to ourselves anymore. Like, for example, find people do shower or baby showers, for example, and then they show it to the world. But that was supposed to be a private thing of a family. But nowadays there is nothing left anymore when it comes to technology. So of course it came with the impact of improvement. There is a lot of improvement, there is a lot of advantages, but yet there is a lot at stake that came with technology, right? So we are going to discuss more about the impacts of technology on our society. And I'm sure in one way or another, you are also affected in negative and positive ways by the technology. Of course, like let's look at studying purposes. It's easy. We can enroll online. You don't need to travel a long distance and say, no, now it's institution time of registration. Now you can enroll online. Like now, for example, you guys are studying online. You don't need to go to school and sit down. That is one advantage of the technology, isn't it? Right. But is it not going to take a stake? Like, for example, as enrolling students, that, like us lecturers that want to give lectures every day to students, in the end, we are going to be left with nothing, because we are not going to teach students anymore, because they are going to be teaching themselves at home. So a lot of negativity and then a lot of positivity came with the technology. All right. So now let's look at the term ICT. What is information communication technology? This refers to information communication technology as artifacts, practices in recording, organizing, storing, manipulating, and communication information. Today, many people's attention is focused on new ICTs, such as those developed with computer and telecommunication equipment. But ICT include a wider areas like artifacts such as telephones, faxes. Do people still fax? I doubt it. Photocopies, movies, books, journals, and articles. There is an argument like, is there in 20 years, can you imagine, in 20 years to come, would you think it will be necessary for us to own libraries, like to go borrow books? I think it will slowly but surely gonna die out, because people are now just more on the mobiles. Everything is gadgets here and there. Okay, now let's look at social informatics. How does the social or society look at this? Social informatics refer to the body of systematic research about social aspects of ICT. Unfortunately, the findings and theories from most of the systematic research rarely appear in popularized form in the popular media or even many of the textbooks and policies analysis. Right? We don't really need to go more on the social informatics, but we are just going to look at what really affects, defining what is really affecting our social or society, technology and society. That's all about IT and society. That's all what it's all about. All right, I'm gonna look at some few things. I'm not gonna cover everything on this slides. There are really a lot, and then they have a lot of information. Okay, but let's look at the definition of social informatics. This is referred to the interdisciplinary study of the design, uses, and consequences of ICT that takes into account their interaction with institutional and cultural context. So our focus is on society and IT in general. So now when it comes to society, we have cultural way of doing things. How do we do things in the culture? Do you think it's also affected by culture? By technology? Of course. How do we interact? The way we used to interact in the past, like let's say 30 years ago, is it still the same? No, it's no longer the same. Okay? And another aspect of social informatics is organizational informatics, which is referred to the social informatics analysis bounded within organization where the primary participants are located within a few identifiable organizations. Many studies of the roles of computerization in shaping work and organizational structure fit within organizational informatics. Okay, some of these things I think can bore you, but we have to look at the most important aspects of, because now this is just information about the social informatics research and blah 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 blah. Okay, so now let's look at values of social informatics. What is the impact? Okay, one reason that many predictions about social effects of specific ICT consequences have proven inaccurate is that they are based on oversimplified conceptual models or specific kinds of ICT, or the future of the relationship between the technology and the social change. Of course, it is giving more. There's a lot of at stake information, and then the social change behaviors, it has changed a lot drastically. For example, many analysis of computerization assumes that ICT have their direct effects upon organization and social life. Would you believe it? Of course you would. These effects depend primarily upon the ICT information processing features, and the information processing features of new ICTs are so powerful relative to pre-existing technologies that they effectively determine how people will use them and with what consequences. Let's look at the fundamental ideas of social informatics. Looking at this, I don't want you guys, your minds to go away from what we are talking about here. We are talking about IT inside the society that we are living in, the impacts, the effects that it has within the society. What are the theoretical approaches, direct effects theories? To identify the social consequences of computerizing some activities, one must have, at least simplistically, a theory of the causal powers that computerized systems can exert upon individuals, groups, organizations, institutions, social networks, social worlds, and other social entities. Okay, it looks at that. It affects both of those things. One common theoretical approach is to conceptualize ICTs as a collection of equipment, artifacts, or techniques which provide specific information processing capabilities and which have identifiable cost, physical characteristics, and skill requirements. Right? Okay, now we are also looking at varied effects that ICT has of ICT use. In general, there is no universal pattern found in work groups or in organizations. ICT has also been shown to have different consequences for the way the work is organized and the extent to which jobs are de-skilled, as in the case of telephone operators, or enriched as in case of accountants. So that's some of the effects. Okay, so let's look at the socio-technical character of ICT. So what are the impacts of social technical, what characters do we develop because of ICT, which is information communication technology? It says it's helpful to view a specialist ICT as a social technical network that brings together diverse resources this includes people in various roles and relationship with each other and with other system elements. We are looking at hardware such as computer mainframes, workstations, peripherals, telecommunications equipment, and we're also looking at softwares like such as operating systems, utilities, and application programs, and techniques, management science models, and voting schemes. Also looking at supporting resources such as training, support, help. Does ICT provide anything of that? And we are looking also at information structures such as content providers, rules, norms, regulations such as those who authorize people to use systems, and information in specific ways and access controls. So what are the social designs of ICT? A growing number of researchers and practitioners are working to develop methodologies that can take into account people's everyday work, practices, and activities. What are the tasks for the social systems analyst might include? Let's look at this. Shadowing managers and workers to determine likely uses of the planned systems. Participating in system design, we need to do that. Efforts to ensure that the system fits organizational structures. Now, here we are looking at social systems in such a way that when we are talking of IT, for example, it's an organization. That organization gonna have a say in how their system gonna look like or how their system gonna do the things. These are the things we are looking at, like a system design. Does the organization have or gonna have a say in that? Okay, we're also gonna look at planning the implementation. How is the system going to be implemented, including education and training? After the system is implemented, this ICT thing, are we gonna provide or are we gonna educate our people? Are we gonna train them? All right. So some of those are the things that we can look at when we are talking of system implementation or system designs when it comes to society. Okay, are we gonna let the society have a say on how systems should work or how they should operate? Okay, so now we're also looking at the design and deployment of ICT, how it is influenced by the interests and orientations of some groups. When we are talking of groups, We are not talking of a group of number of people. We are looking at number of races that we have within, like for example, in the country. We are looking at number of groups, like for example, as well, like stakeholders who are taking part in that kind of or group or part of a system. We're looking at stakeholders for an ICT design differ depending on the nature of the ICT and the designing organization. The stakeholders may include the design team itself, the people who will actually utilize the ICT, people and groups that depend upon the functioning of the ICT, even if they do not use it directly, and the designing organization. Thus, the development of ICT application requires a collaboration of involvement or a variety of distinctions. This is just a summary of how things should be done. All right. So now let's look at, now the things we were looking at prior to this, it was the advantages of how we are looking at how the systems are designed within the society. So now let's look at the consequences, or rather say advantages of ICT, that the impacts, that the negative impacts that they have upon the society. Number one, communicative and computational roles of computer system. Communication, yes. One important aspect of direct effects and systems rationaries theories of computerization is that their proponents tend to emphasize only on some of computer system information processing features, such as the size of and the contents of the corpus of a digital library or the mathematical approach of a forecasting model. There are important temporal and spatial dimensions of ICT consequences. Some of the popular conception of consequences of ICT is space and time are misleading. For example, it is an advertising cliché to say that computer networks eliminate space and time. Would you agree with that? That computer networks eliminate space and time? Okay, and then it's also a hyperbole that when in practice in organization, it has been able to reduce some temporal and spatial barriers for work, communicating with the clients and so on. Would you believe it? Yes, I would, because with technology or ICT, in the end, we are not going to have a lot of employees anymore. We are going to reduce employees because these technologies can take up some of our work. Okay, that's why it's talking about barriers for work. And communicating with clients, how do we communicate with the clients? Do we still call them through telephones, or we just send them a WhatsApp message? Of course, that is some of the consequences that it has. Okay, we're also looking at how ICT has eliminated space and time. Might seem to offer tremendous convenience for individual users. However, since they could also be continually accessible to others, regardless of their location or time zones, people who are working with many other people could easily inundated with communication and demands. Okay, ICTs are also enable people and organizations to reduce some of the communicational restrictions or space and time in ways that we do not understand very well. Okay, and then the third part of the consequences of ICT is that are interpreted and used in different ways by different people. The way I understand ICT is probably not the same way as you understand. And then the way we interpret is not the same way you would interpret it. We all interpret it differently. For example, the simplest conception of ICT or services such as email, for example, or a specific digital library or a project scheduling system, etc., is that it embodies the same meanings for everybody who uses it. However, social informatics researchers have found that people frequently interpret and interact with ICT in more complex and varied ways. For example, I will say I'm going to use emails for work purposes, sending messages, but one would use emails in another different way, or they will interpret and say they use emails just to do their personal communication. So the way we interpret it, it's now different. So now, thirdly, ICTs are interpreted and used in different ways by different people. I think that is just what I explained a while ago. Okay, let's look at the use of WW, World Wide Web. What's the meaning of that? The use of the World Wide Web in university instruction today is another interesting example. Using internet to search for information, that is another way how society is also now looking at different things. A small fraction of university faculty are eager to explore the WW as a way to enhance some aspect in their teaching. Of course, how do you think we teach? Where do you think we get some of information? We go on the WW, which is internet. We go on YouTube and then we look at some of the tutorials. So those are some of the impacts. And then this is a good impact of information technology. Right? Many faculties we are talking of universities in specific. Many faculties, especially non-technical faculty at research universities, are much less interested in working with WW because they believe that using it would require a lot of time to learn HTML and other ICTs. HTML is one of the programming languages that we use to develop websites. So some of the universities, they are not agreeing with using the internet. Okay, so let's look at the fourth consequence. ICTs enable and constrain social actions and social relationships. How do you communicate socially? Like we call them social networks like Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and so forth. How do you communicate? Instagram, we have a lot of them. ICTs are sometimes called technologies of freedom. Of course, this is a good, we express your freedom. Especially on Facebook, people say what they want. That is what we call technologies of freedom, because they extend the abilities of people and organizations to access data, communicate, etc. It is common for many technology-centered accounts of new ITC to emphasize the ways that they enable new kinds of action that were previously more costly, difficult, or impossible. However, many of ICT freedoms come with some less visible constraints. How about the shifting of papers to documents? We have electronic documents. That is another effect. And some of technology's issues that we have within the society, like we are cutting off papers. There's no more paperwork more. We are having electronic documents. That is also one of the impacts. People who work with paper documents often face the constraint of needing to travel to library to obtain them. But with the ICT, it's cutting off that. All right? Printing is also being carried out. Okay, another thing is that researchers frequently find that ICT in use do not simply open new possibilities, which is true. If we are applying, we are using, invading in, or having this technology has invaded in our society, how do you think? Nowadays, you find we are going to have e-health, that is e, it is technology already, e-learning, e-what. It is, everything is about e. So that means it's internet based. So basically, our people are going to be left in the community without having jobs because technology is taking up their work. Or like, let's say a person was just employed to be a printing person. Now with the technology, we are having electronic documents. How is this person? He or she is going to lose their jobs. And looking at the photographic, in the past, people used to go to cinema, to photo studios, take pictures. But now, people are having their mobile phones. They are taking pictures at home. That photographer has lost their jobs because of that. It is technology. Think of so many areas, how people are losing their jobs because of technology. It is technology. Technology, whatever. Everyone. Okay, now let's look at another fifth impact of ICT within the society. ICT and the control of users. Who are the users of systems? When they are first introduced into social settings, the relationship between ICTs and social structures is reciprocal. Organizational informatics researchers found that ICTs can restructure workplaces through the ways in which they are incorporated into everyday life of those who use them. Of course, they have really changed. Technologies are also shaped by the everyday actions of those who routinely use them and social settings within which they have been implemented. That's what researchers have found. The uses, things are limited. However, organizations usually stabilize around some configuration of work practices and ICT configuration. Thereafter, changes are incremental until there is some substantial outside change. So ITC or ICT has made a difference of impact within workplaces or workspaces. Things have changed. Okay? How about political consequences? Do you think IT has made an impact into political consequences, or has it played any important roles? Well, in scientific communities, the term politics has an ambiguous status. When analysts use it to refer to governance processes in a larger society, such as the election of public officials, debate on public policies, development of legislation, etc., it have a positive valence. However, some scientists view the term organizational politics with some detest, as if political processes are necessarily dysfunctional and inappropriate. When it comes to politics, of course, a lot has changed. How do people still go on debating, or they just post posters and stuff on Instagram? Vote for me, vote for me. Also, things have changed so drastically. Okay, the seventh consequence that I've outlined here is that there can be negative consequences of ICT development for some of stakeholders. How do you understand the term stakeholders? New ICT development are usually promoted by sponsors in terms of their foreseeable direct benefit to some groups. However, it's common when mobilizing support for them to downplay or ignore their advantages. Okay, so I'm telling you, technology has a lot of impacts in the society, and then that's what we call IT and society. We are not just looking at advantages. Of course, there is advantages, but whatever comes with advantages always comes with disadvantages, and then that's what IT has also done within our society. Okay. In conclusion, to our IT in society, bold claims have been made about ICT have transformed work. Work, of course, it has been made easier for us. If it wasn't of this computer, or it wasn't of this technology, do you think I would have reached out to you through this? Of course it's not. So that's why really technology has brought good impact and bad impact. And then we are saying that the nature of work is currently undergoing a complete transformation. It is transformed drastically. And information technology is underpinning this information typifies a commonplace claim in the business and technologies press. Some goods for further emphasizing the rise of virtual offices. This is what I was describing in other subject, virtual. That is virtual offices, whereby people are meeting in offices, but not physically, but they can only log in and then they can physically meet them. Like for example, social networks, example, Facebook. We meet on the social platform. We don't meet there physically, but we meet there and then we are talking about things. That is one of our transformation that IT has contributed to our society. So now, what did you find more interesting on this subject? Is it about the impact, the good impacts that it has? Of course. IT has brought a lot of changes. Work are transformed. Workplaces are transformed. Our work has been made easier. But the consequences that it has come with is the most detrimental effect that it has played. Like when it comes to behavior change, the way the society behaves or the way it looks at things. How do you think, like the people are bringing up their kids nowadays, how they view? Do you think they will respect their view of communication? IT has cut off communication. Verbal communication is no longer there because of IT. Medical, the way people are dealing with medicals, there's a lot of e-health. People will log in a certain app and then they do something. IT has a lot to do with the society. It has done, of course, the good part. I can able to communicate with you via technology. but it has also done. I would have loved to meet you in person, but I couldn't. I can't because of the technology that is a barrier. It just brought in a lot of barriers between us. So that is what was entailed in this subject, IT and society. Just think of it. Advantages and disadvantages. It's more likely equal. We call IT in society mostly we are calling it like artificial intelligence, whereby people are even creating robotics to do things. Probably I'm gonna have a driver which is a robotic, and people are losing their jobs on that. The question is there anything gonna be left untouched by technology if you think of it? Until then, I'm ending here. If you have any questions, you know where to reach me. My email, which is e.pietres@ium.edu.na. Until then, guys, stay warm.